Hey everyone. Hello everyone, welcome back. Welcome back, welcome back. I'm happy that you're back joining us. Come on in, drop a comment, let me know you're here. Give you a little shout out. Happy to see all of you on this wonderful Wednesday. If you didn't get to see our 9 a.m. session yet, you should check it out. It's pretty funny at the beginning. So thank you all for coming back. I'm so happy that you're here. It's 10:30. And hi, Iago. Welcome back, buddy. I can't wait for you to see the morning session. I hope you saw the beginning. It was pretty funny. I got a good laugh. So we're together again. It is the first day of April, also known as April Fool's Day. Yes, it is April Fool's Day. I wonder what you have planned for today, or if anyone has planned for you today. I can't wait to hear about it. So I want to start off I forgot to do the riddle this morning. So a lot of you are still wondering the answer to the riddle. The riddle was, I'm full of holes. I can hold water. What am I? So this was the riddle from this morning that I totally forgot to tell you the answer to. So it's full of holes and it can hold water. What am I? The answer was a sponge. You ever seen the sponge? Maybe the one at the sink, or you might have one in your shower. There's different types of sponges and they have lots of holes in them, but they absorb and hold water. Did you get that one? Did you figure it out? I thought that was a fun one. And I'm also going to show you the riddle, today's riddle. And let me grab it. Close. What has a tongue but cannot talk? What has a tongue but cannot talk? That's today's riddle. All right, awesome. So I want to start off by doing our problem of the day, solving our problem. So our problem, there are 8 red and blue blocks. Livia has 3 red blocks. How many blue blocks does Johnny have? Now, this one's a little tricky because it says there are 8 red and blue blocks, but we don't know how many of each. We do know how many red, right? Oh, so we need to figure out how many blue blocks. Well, you could use manipulatives to play with and move around and try to figure it out. Let's try to solve it together. I'm going to scoot my camera down and let's try to solve. Okay, so there are 8 red and blue blocks. So I'm going to use pink and blue bunnies. We'll pretend they're bunny blocks. Everyone see my bunnies? You know I love my Target dollar stop erasers. All right, so there's 8 blocks and we know that 3 are red. So we'll make the pink ones as red. So 1, 2, 3. And then there's 8 blocks all together, right? Red and blue, but we don't know how many blue. Did any of you try to count on from 3? Because that's a great way to do it. We can count on from 3. Watch, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I used the count on strategy to solve this problem. So I should have 8 blocks. So let's check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Do I have 8? I do. Are 3 of them red? 1, 2, 3. All right, we got it right. And then how many blue blocks? Well, that's what we didn't answer yet. How many of them are blue? Well, let's count the blue bunnies. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that means that 3 blue, oh, I said it wrong. 3 red, right? 3 red bunnies plus, how many did we say were blue? 5 equals 8. The total that we have. One way to solve. I'm going to show you another way. We used a count on strategy. You don't have to use the count on strategy. We know that there are 8 blocks, right? That's the one thing we know. So let's draw 8 blocks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 blocks. Let me count and check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, 8 blocks. And we know that Livia has how many blocks that are red? Yeah, 3. So let's just put a R for red in 3 of the blocks. R, R, R. So those are our red blocks. And if you had a crayon, you might have, on paper, you could have colored them red. And then they want to know, how many blue blocks does Johnny have? Well, if these are the red ones, the rest are blue. We can just count up the rest of the blocks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the equation would be the same. 3 red plus 5 blue equals 8. You got it. Good job. Awesome stuff. Hi, Ms. Adonisio. Hi, Iago. Hi, Teresa and Killian. Awesome. I hope you did a good job solving that problem. I saw a lot of you sent them to me. They were great. I love that you colored the blocks. Great, great job. So tomorrow's problem is right here. And I will read it to you. Tomorrow's problem is about Sophia. Sophia has 10 new pencils. She gives 5 pencils to friends. How many pencils does Sophia have now? Okay, so I want you to draw a picture and write an equation for me. I can't wait to see how you solve. I love seeing how you solve these problems. And remember, there's many different ways we can solve. Awesome. Awesome, awesome. So like I said, hi, Marlos. Hi. I have new friends. Drop your name. If it's, some of you are logged on as your parents' name, so if you want to drop your name, I'll give you a greeting, what school you're from or where you're from. Thank you for joining in. So we just finished going over our problem solving, and I thought today would be a perfect day for us to read a book about April Fools. What do you think? Since it is April Fool's Day. And here's my story. It's called April Fool, Watch Out at School. So this is a series of books, and this character's name is Gilbert. You might have seen him before. They're called Gilbert and Friends books, and they're scholastic books. So April Fool, watch out at school. And notice the exclamation point. It means it's something is said like with excitement or loudly, like April Fool, watch out at school. You wouldn't say something with an exclamation point like April Fool, watch out at school, right? No reading like a robot. Awesome. So while we read this story, let's try to connect to this story. Maybe you had an April Fool happen to you already today. Maybe you fooled someone else. I want you to be thinking about that. April Fool, watch out at school. On our title page. Oh, I like this illustration on the title page. Look, he has on silly glasses and a nose with a mustache. April Fool, Watch Out at School by Diane DeGroat. And I like how this author on the inside put a list of all the other books about Gilbert that are out there. So if you like this character Gilbert, you can look for other Gilbert books. Okay, here we go. Are you ready? Gilbert woke up and looked at the calendar. It was April 1st, April Fool's Day. He hopped out of bed and started filling his backpack with tricks to play on his friends. His sister Lola peeked in the door and said, "Knock, knock." Gilbert answered, "Who's there?" "April Fool," Lola shouted. Gilbert laughed and explained, "You're supposed to play a trick on someone, not tell jokes." "Okay," Lola said, "do a trick on me." But Gilbert didn't have time to play tricks on his little sister. He was already out the door. And look at the stuff that Gilbert is putting in his backpack. This looks like a fake spider. This looks like fake ants. And this box right here says magic on it. And right here, it looks like it says spicy gum. Oh, I wonder what he's gonna do. Gilbert met Patty on the corner. As they walked to school, Patty suddenly said, "Watch out, Gilbert, your shoe's untied." Gilbert stopped to tie his shoe. But it was already tied. Gotcha, Patty said. April Fool, Gilbert laughed. He couldn't wait to try that trick on someone else. Principal Pug smiled and waved when he saw them. Morning good, he said. Day nice a have. Oh my goodness, he was talking backward. The bell rang and Patty said to Gilbert, Up hurry let's. That sounds like it would be hard to do. So instead of saying, let's hurry up, he said, Up hurry let's. Mrs. Bird was not smiling or waving. She said, Put away your trick so we can get started with our reading lesson. Gilbert, please start on page 10. Gilbert stood up and read out loud. Where is my book? Sam asked. I need it now. Mrs. Bird stopped him and said, When someone reads out loud, it would be nice to know where the punctuation marks are. Then she said, Here's an idea. When you come to a period, say pop. And when you see quotation marks, say pft. And question marks can be huh. And the exclamation point is a boing. Try it. Oh, this sounds tricky. Gilbert took a deep breath and then started over. Pfft. Where is my book? Huh? Pfft. Sam asked. Pop. Pfft. I need it now. Boing. Whoo, Gilbert said. This is hard. Louis said, and it sure is funny. Boing. Everyone laughed. And Mrs. Bird laughed too and said, Thank you for being such a good sport, Gilbert. April Fool. Gilbert sat down and made a loud pfft sound in his seat. That wasn't me, he cried. Somebody put a whoopee cushion there. Gotcha, Louis said. Uh-oh. I wonder how Louis is feeling right now. In the beginning of the story, Louis was very excited. Do you remember? He was very excited to rush out the door and get to school. And now as we're getting farther in the story, look at Gilbert's face. Does he still look excited and happy? Well, someone had just put a whoopee cushion under his chair, and April fooled him. They finished their reading silently, but Gilbert kept thinking pop and boing whenever he saw a period or an exclamation point. He also kept thinking about how he could play a trick on Louis. He had hot, spicy gum in his pocket, so he turned to Louis and asked, Would you like a piece of gum, Louis? No way, Louis said. Later, Gilbert put a plastic spider on Louis's desk when he wasn't looking. This is so fake, Louis said when he handed it back. Then he slapped Gilbert on the back and said, Your tricks are the worst. But Gilbert wasn't giving up. He still had a few more tricks up his sleeve. He also had a sign on his back that said, I smell. No wonder everyone was snickering as he walked to the cafeteria. Louis, Gilbert grumbled. So sometimes we're seeing, right, that tricks can be funny and other times they can be mean, because look at Gilbert now. Is Gilbert still happy and excited about April Fools? So whenever we're playing a trick, we have to think about that. Like if we're going to hurt someone's feelings, okay, our goal is never to embarrass someone, but to make them laugh, right? Before he ate, Gilbert first checked his seat for a whoopee cushion. There was none, so he sat down and opened his lunchbox. Suddenly, he jumped out of his seat and yelled, Ah! There was a worm in his apple. It's just a gummy worm, Patty said. And look, there's a note. The note said, April Fool. It was signed Mother. Gilbert couldn't believe it. Even his mother had tricked him. I like his mom's trick. That was cute. At recess, Frank said, Watch out, Gilbert, there's a bee on your head. Gilbert swatted at his head while Frank laughed and said, April Fool. Margaret said, Watch out, Gilbert, your shoe's untied. Gilbert bent to tie his shoe. Made you look, Margaret said. Gilbert sighed. He couldn't believe that he had fallen for that trick twice in one day. Then Philip shouted, "Watch out, Gilbert!" But Gilbert was not going to get tricked again. He said, I'm not. Before he could finish, a kickball smacked him right on the head. "I told you to watch out," Philip said. "I thought it was another trick," Gilbert groaned as he rubbed his head. This was the worst April Fool's Day ever. "Everybody's playing tricks on me, but I can't trick anyone." "I told you your tricks were bad," Louis laughed. "You'll never trick anyone." Let's stop and think here. Louis doesn't sound like he's using his kind words like we've been learning about. Louis remember Louis hit him on the head. Louis told him his tricks were bad. Are those things that we can do that are helpful and kind? No, I don't know if Louis is choosing the right way to do April Fools. So Louis just told Gilbert that he'll never trick anyone. Let's see. Gilbert said, "That's what you think, Louis. I have one more trick I've been saving just for you." Louis laughed again and said, "What is it?" "I'm not telling you. You'll have to wait and see." Gilbert whispered to Patty what his trick was. Patty said loudly, "You're right, Gilbert. That's the best trick ever." Louis snorted and said, "You'll never April Fool me." I'm wondering if Louis is supposed to kind of be a bully and give us an example of what a bully might do or say so we can learn what not to do and say. I'm wondering if that's what the author was doing here. I also wonder what Gilbert's trick is. Do you have any ideas about what his trick is? I'm excited to find out. As they walked back into the classroom, Gilbert said, "Oh, Louis, let me hold that door for you." Louis asked, "Is this your trick?" "No," said Gilbert, and he held the door open and Louis walked through very quickly. During spelling, Louis couldn't find his eraser. Gilbert said, "Here, Louis, you can borrow mine." Louis looked at the eraser and said, "Is this a trick?" "No," Gilbert said, but Louis inspected the eraser very carefully before he used it. When they went to the art table, Gilbert pulled out a chair and said, "Here you go, Louis. Have a seat." Louis looked at the chair and said, "It's a trick again, right?" "No," Gilbert said, but Louis checked the chair very carefully for a whoopee cushion before he sat down. What do you think is happening? Have you figured it out? Have you figured out what Gilbert's trick is? Let's keep reading and see if you can figure it out. When Louis got up to clean his brush, Gilbert said, "Be careful, Louis, your shoe is untied." "Ha!" Louis said, "I'm not falling for that old trick." But his shoe was untied. And Louis did fall when he stepped on the lace, and everyone laughed. "I told you it was untied," Gilbert said. "I thought it was your trick," Louis said, trying to tie his shoe. "No," Gilbert said, "my trick is much better than that." During quiet time, Gilbert brought a book to Louis and said, "I think you should read this." "Louis, I really like this book." Louis wouldn't take the book. He said, "Is it a fake book? Is it glued shut? Is it going to squirt me when I open it?" "No," Gilbert said, "it's just a really good book." Louis took the book, but he couldn't concentrate on the story. He kept looking over his shoulder to see where Gilbert was. Louis was so busy watching out for Gilbert's trick, he didn't see Kenny putting a fake spider on his desk. Louis screamed when he saw it. "Ah, gotcha," Kenny said. And when Patty told Louis his shoe was untied, he bent to tie it. "Gotcha," Patty said. And when Louis sat on his own whoopee cushion and Margaret said, "Gotcha," everyone laughed. When the bell rang, Lewis finally shouted, "I give up, Gilbert. I can't stand it anymore. Do your trick already." Gilbert smiled and said, "There isn't any trick, Lewis. I just made you think that there was. You got April fooled." Gotcha. What did you think about that story? Gilbert is so smart. And what I loved about Gilbert's April Fool, oh, I'm so sorry. Gilbert's April Fool was about showing kindness at the end. He decided to show kindness. Did you notice that? Let's look. I want to do it real quick and look back at how he was kind. Here he held the door open. Gilbert held the door open for Lewis. Here, Gilbert shared his eraser with Lewis. Here, he pulled out the chair for Lewis to sit at the art table. And on this page, do you remember what happens? Yeah, he told Lewis that his shoe was untied and Lewis didn't believe him. And then Lewis fell down. Here, he offered a book. Gilbert said, "Lewis, I like this book. Read this book." And then we see about how all the other kids tricked Lewis, but Gilbert wasn't playing any more pranks. And at the end, he had the best April Fool, right? He got Lewis because he showed a kindness. I thought this was a great book. And not only did it go along with today being April Fool's Day, but it has to do with us showing kindness and using our kind words, right? I thought it was such a great story to share today. So what I want you to do today is either in your notebook or a piece of paper, I want to know, what did you do at home for April Fools? Did you play a trick? Or did someone play a trick on you? I want you to draw and show me what happened, and then you can write about it. Okay, you could write your sentences on the bottom, or you can do it in your notebook. And you know how we do that in our notebook. You can draw a picture on the top and write your sentences at the bottom. I can't wait to see your writing and what happens today in April Fools. And don't forget, it's Workout Wednesday. I'm going to go out in my yard with Juliana and do some of our workout from our math lesson today. I can't wait to show you some of the fun videos that we're going to take, and I can't wait to see what you're doing for Workout Wednesday. Thank you for tuning in, boys and girls. I'm so happy you're here, and I'm so happy that we can stay connected. Don't forget to my class, reach out to me at any time if you have any questions or need help with anything. I miss your beautiful faces, and I can't wait to meet up with you in Zoom again. I love you all, and have a great rest of this wonderful Wednesday. April Fools!